Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing fantastic. Be honest, does this hair make me look like a presidential candidate? Actually, do you know what? I'm glad that I brought out the brownie blondie hair because today we will be talking about everybody's favorite top model, where's my stick? Tyra Banks. I don't know if you can see that because I know that there's a little bit of a glare on the TV. I'm so sorry. The sun's about to set. I don't know what to tell you. But this topic has been on my mind for a while because as a kid, I was obsessed with America's Next Top Model. It was my everything. Secretly, I wanted to be a model. I wanted to be a model and an actress, but I couldn't tell anybody because I felt like everybody would make fun of me. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell my parents. I told nobody. And I wanted to be on this so bad. In fact, when I became a teenager, I was like, this is my goal. I am going to be on Australia's Next Top Model because I live in Australia, so obviously I'm not going to travel to America. I don't even think you're allowed to do that. Anyways, I'm very excited for this video, so let's just dive in. America's Next Top Model is a television show that premiered in early 2003, and it has been terrorizing our screens ever since. Oh, not ever since. It ended in 2018, I believe, with cycle 24. In this video, I'm going to be referring to these seasons as cycles because that's what they call it in the TV show. Into our young adulthood, we ate this shit up because this was back in the day, and for some reason, a lot of us just assumed that this is what the modeling industry was like. This show presented itself as the ultimate way to the top, and I will say the top models that do come out of these cycles, they have eventuated to a lot more than the other budding models. So the ones that did, they got into the season, they did a couple episodes in their cycle, and then they left, returning to a world that was really horrible to them as a result of the way that they were presented in this television show, and so on and so forth. It was just messy. It was messy. The first cycle winner, Adrienne Curry, told Cut that she believes that America's Next Top Model was never created for models. It was created because Tyra Banks was aging out of the modeling industry. I don't mean that in a misogynistic way, and I don't think Adrienne meant this in a misogynistic way. However, the modeling industry, it is toxic. They will snatch you straight out of the fucking cradle. Like, look at all the top models in the industry at the moment. Aside from the ones that came from nepotism, a lot of them are 19, 20, 21. It's really fucked up. And as soon as you hit like 24, 25, it's crickets. So what I got from her statement is that Adrienne really had no gripes towards Tyra in particular. She believes that Tyra was a product of the modeling industry. She'd gone through everything, and when she created this show, she did not know any better. I personally think that Adrienne is giving her a little bit too much grace. If you, Tyra Banks, you've been in this industry for, years, decades at this point. You know the pain, the toil that it takes on young women. Why would you, as now a grown adult, create a show that reproduces those same trials and tribulations that you went through? Tyra Banks, make it make sense, make it make sense. At the end of the day, Tyra Banks cannot be blamed for the soulless entity that is the modeling industry. However, watching America's Next Top Model, I spy another soulless entity. I spy multiple soulless entities, and we'll get into that later. Janice Dickinson? I'm looking at you, baby girl. Baby girl, I'm looking at you. I think we can all agree that presenting this show as a way to rise to the top of the modeling industry, when in actuality, it is for ratings. It is for entertainment purposes at the end of the day. Look at these. This one is an insane makeover that a model had. This one is a fucking insane runway that the girls had to walk and look fierce on the runway while being judged by these judges, while also having a fucking swinging pendulum. Why is there a pendulum? Why is there a pendulum here? Hello? Also, I don't know if you can see that because there's a little bit of glare on there, but this one is another insane catwalk the girls had to do, with the runway itself being on these incredibly unstable pieces of wood, it looks like. I haven't watched this episode itself, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of the girls actually fell into the water that's surrounding the catwalk. That's insane. I think it's incredibly horrible that Tyra took some of the girls, teenagers, early 20s. She took these girls and humiliated them in front of the world. The makeovers, the catwalks, they were not necessary. In no way, shape, or form would you encounter this kind of thing in the modeling industry. She set these girls to be embarrassed so that we could be entertained, and we were. And I feel so bad. At the end of the day, a lot of us, we were kids watching this. I was 8 years old watching this show. We cannot blame ourselves for not seeing the insanity that was right in front of our eyes. Now, years later, a lot of the girls have come out and spoken about the trauma that this show put them through. I really, really hope that soon, within the next decade at least, we see justice for these girls. So yeah, I do model too, y'all. Let's get into it. Yeah. So I have been modeling professionally since the end of 2019. So I was about to turn 22. So I was relatively old. That's a relatively old age to start modeling, and it's horrible that that's the way it is, but it just is. Decades after the show premiered, the harmful modeling industry unfortunately continues to prevail. Now you may be asking, Shalom, if the modeling industry is so harmful, why do you willingly choose to participate in it? Let's do some ASMR. I am a Nigerian woman. I like money. I'm sorry. Is that controversial? I'm sorry. I like financial stability. Okay. And for modeling, it is quite a lucrative industry. If you can find consistent work, it can keep you paid. So I like that aspect of it, obviously, but the part I love most about it is getting to work with creatives, getting to work with the people who like technically have no power in the modeling industry. So the photographers, the models, the stylists. I have learned so much about lighting from photographers. Like that shit is a science. I love learning from creative people. Creativity sets my heart on fire. I love that shit. So getting to work with other people who feel the same way is the best thing in the entire world. Now, yes, modeling is still incredibly harmful. Me being like a Black woman in the industry as well, it's not fun for a lot of us, even down to people who are like mixed race. They still have to face a lot of racism. At the end of the day, I'm in the industry with the hopes that as we go on, it does get better. And if we're not seeing other people make changes happen, then hopefully eventually I can make changes happen. Anyways, I just brought this up to say, as a person that is in the industry and has been in the industry for about 5 years, hopefully I can offer you guys a fresh perspective on this topic. So, which cycle are we gonna be discussing today? Because I will not be discussing all 24 of them. Are you crazy? No. We are going to be discussing Cycle 6. Cycle 6, which premiered on March 8th, 2006, really sticks out in my mind because Danny, this girl right here, she was one of my favorites. Where's Danny? She's over here. This is the one cycle that sticks out in my head from all the different cycles that I watched when I was a child. I loved Danny, not only because, you know, I was seeing somebody on TV who looked like me, but she also had a gap teeth, and I used to have a really prominent gap tooth. I don't know. Unfortunately, I did get rid of it because I got Invisalign a couple years back. She had a gap, I had a gap, and she was just a really, really like kind, friendly person. She was empathetic. She was everything I wanted to be when I grew up. So I just really liked Danny. This woman has never left my head in the like 2 decades it's been since I watched this cycle. Anyways, enough chit chat. Let's get into it. So let's meet the judges. Here we have Tyra Banks. I don't think she really needs any introduction. Huge model in the 90s, one of the first Black models to really break out in the scene. She really opened the doors for a lot of women of color in the modeling industry, although I don't know how much she wanted that to happen. Looking back on some of the things she's done, but at the end of the day, that is her legacy, and that's a pretty amazing feat. Here we have Miss J. Alexander, who is the girls' runway coach. Here we have J. Manuel, who is the photo shoot director. Here we have Nigel Barker, who is a famed fashion photographer. Then we have Twiggy. Twiggy is an ex-model and a world-renowned fashion icon. And my favorite person, she's right at the bottom here, but she's a guest judge on this season, and this is Janice Dickinson, who is also, I think she still models, actually. If not, she's an ex-model. Before we begin, I want to give a huge thank you to Wanna Be On Top, the YouTube channel, for posting all of these episodes that I got to watch online on YouTube. I didn't have to pay shit to watch this episode, so thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Wanna Be On Top. So to start off in this episode, we learned that 32 girls were chosen out of thousands, even tens of thousands of applicants, I believe. So one of the first scenes, we see this girl I like to call Evil Danny. The reason I call her Evil Danny is because there are 2 Dannys in this cycle. spelled the exact same way and everything. So she will be referred to as Evil Danny, and you will see why momentarily. The first scene we see of this girl, she's on her way on a van with a bunch of other models from the airport, and she's talking about how she was somewhere and there was like 95% black girls. She was like, oh, I didn't realize it was gonna be like that. Bear it in mind, this van is filled with girls of color. There's like 10 of them in here. There's black girls, there's Asian girls. It's a diverse bunch. And she's saying this with such like, she's so boisterous saying this. Like she's not afraid. This girl is not afraid to be bigoted, okay? This is how we are introduced to Evil Danny. And this girl is a see you next Tuesday. I do not like her. I just started watching this show. I'm already pissed. I'm reconsidering my decision to even create this whole video.
I don't like gay people. I don't like Muslims. I don't like abortions. I don't like anything liberal. But other than that, I really like to get along with people.
Saying all this while wanting to be in the fashion industry of all things, one of the most diverse industries ever, is insane. I am super disappointed that Tyra or the producers or whoever, at the end of the day, Tyra Banks is the creator, so I'm just gonna say her name. I'm super disappointed that Tyra saw this girl's insane audition clip and chose to bring her onto the show. Like, I get it, it's for views, it's for clicks, it's for outrage, so that more people are talking about it. But to what end? I don't know why she would willingly put this asshole on her show, but she did. So I digress. We see vans piling in, and there are beautiful, gorgeous, long-legged women coming to the show to make their dreams a reality. And the first people that they're introduced to is Miss J and Mr. J. Immediately, the girls are challenged to put together outfits based on these three concepts: sexy and sultry, sophisticated, or young and fun. The girls eat, what can I say? But Dr. Yvonne wins this challenge, and that's my woman right there. She's like, I think 24. She's already a doctor, and she's just like, let me come on this little modeling show for fun. Love her down. Now, if there's anything I've learned from watching this show, is that Tyra Banks is a stunt queen. And one thing about her, she will stunt. She will pull off a stunt. So the girls are then moved to this like restaurant looking area, and it's with Miss J and Jay. Unfortunately, Tyra can't be there, so there's this little clip that introduces them into the show, welcomes them into the show, and it's played on this big TV screen. And then all of a sudden, Tyra Banks pops out of the fucking back rooms. What were you doing over there, Tyra? What was the point of this? So Tyra shows up. Obviously, this is fucking Tyra Banks. These are aspiring models. They want to have even a little crumb of what Tyra has achieved in her modeling career. So they freak the fuck out, understandably. And after I watched this, I'm like, Tyra, you really didn't have to do all that. Like, they pretended that she wasn't gonna be there for this bloody 1 minute 30-second video to play. What was the reason? What did you gain? Obviously, she just wanted to summon the biggest reaction she could from these girls, but they would have still had a big reaction had you not pretended you couldn't make it. What? Oh, I don't understand. So we then move to a hall with all the judges. It's a little judging panel, and the girls come in one by one and they introduce themselves to the judges. And I really, really love this. It's so much fun. It's really fun to see the judges interact with the girls and like kind of get to know them on a more friendly, more personal level. It's just fun to watch. It really seems like they're genuinely trying to ease the models into the process, which I think it's amazing, because at the end of the day, a lot of these girls, they just came out of high school. They traveled by themselves without their parents, without their friends, without their siblings, from nationwide to be here. So it's really nice that the judges are being genuine. I really like that. One thing I don't like about this section though is that it's quite evident that the judges are using some of these girls' trauma to evoke emotions in the viewer, once again, for views, clicks, engagement. At the end of the day, these girls would have given this information out voluntarily, but the way that the judges are like trying to empathize with them, it just comes across as fake, as if they don't really care. They're just like, okay, we need to get this out so they can edit this into the episode, like it's just one of these things that we have to do. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. During the introductions, we also hear girls saying some really fun racist colorist things, which is, you know, it's always lovely to hear. So the girls then go to dinner and chaos ensues when Danny and Evil Danny go head to head at the dinner table.
Okay, perfect example. Abercrombie and Fitch, where I used to work. I was the only black girl who worked at Abercrombie and Fitch.
Because black people don't.
Because what?
Why would black people
What does that mean?
Why would... Calm down, I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, you realize you just say it to me out loud?
Evil Danny, is the spawn of Satan. And I ask once again, Tyra Banks, as a black woman, why would you have somebody like this on your show? Thankfully though, a bunch of the girls around the table pipe up to defend Danny. But then we're back to the intros with the judging panel because we didn't finish all of the intros prior to this. So surprise, surprise, evil Danny is still being a bitch.
The fashion industry stands for every single thing that you are against.
It feels like they should have a more open mind as to what I was born in, what I was raised in. You can't choose where you come from.
So then they gather the 32 girls and they let them know that behind these doors there are only 20 makeup stations, and these 20 makeup stations each have a girl's name and face on it. So go find out if you made it through. So guess who survives this round? A bunch of pretty girls, a bunch of great, lovely, lovely girls, but also evil Danny. Why did they allow her to make it past this stage? Clicks, views, engagements, I hate it here. I hate it here. At this point, my favorites, Dr. Yvonne and Danny, have made it through, so it'd gaff by anything else. It'd gaff. What can I say? It'd gaff. The 20 chosen girls then have 10 minutes to do their makeup for a beauty shoot. This is their first shoot, so they gotta hustle. They gotta go. The judges then look through the girls' beauty shots and deliberate in order to choose 13 out of the 20 girls that are here at the moment. There's a whole lot of internalized misogyny in this whole conversation, this whole deliberation, but I'm just gonna move past it because I can't be pointing out every single time this shit happens. The girls chosen are Jade, who's 26, Sarah, who's 21, Molly Sue, who's 25, Leslie, who's 18, Joni, who's 24, Nena, who's 24.
Your sisters in Nigeria have a lot to be proud of right now, don't they?
Well, yes. Carrie, who's 18, Brooke, who's 22, Danny and Kathy, who are both 20, Ferranda, who's 24, Gina, who's 21, and Wendy, who's 22. Finally, the evil has been defeated. Danny had the audacity to be a horrendous person while also pulling out these shitty graduation-esque photos. Girlie, pick a struggle. We now come to episode 2, where Janice Dickinson shows up. I do not like this woman at all. Now, Janice is here to be one of the judges in the first challenge of the episode. The challenge is that the girls have to sit with this judging panel. They have to sit on this long conference table, and they kind of have to show their personalities. So the people on the panel are going to be asking them questions, and they just have to show that they are top model celebrity material. On the panel, there are 6 judges, including Will Smith's son, Trey, for some reason. But hey, man, get your bag. So Nena wins this challenge, and this is not a surprise at all. She is incredibly well-spoken, and when she speaks, she evokes a lot of emotion, and I'm so happy for my fellow Nigerian sister. So if you're an avid watcher of America's Next Top Model, you would know that when the girls win challenges, they get to pick 1 or 2 friends to share the prize with them. And the prize for the winners of this challenge is that they get to be the first ones to go into the America's Next Top Model mansion, and they get to pick their rooms first. How exciting. This mansion is really, really sick. And a lot of the rooms, I think all the rooms actually, they have a theme, and the themes are icons in the modeling industry. There's a Twiggy room, there's an Iman room, there's a Janice Dickinson room. I love this concept so much. It's so fun and girly pop. Like, I love it. So in the industry, there are these things called model houses, and a lot of the time, a bunch of young girls, sometimes up to dozens, will be squeezed into tiny apartments, tiny houses where they have to share rooms with a bunch of other models, and a lot of the time they are charged an arm and a leg for places that are not worth nearly that amount, just for their agencies to squeeze them into a room of like 6 girls with like 3 different bunk beds in them. It's insane. I don't know if it's still common, but I know for a fact that it used to be, at least. So I really appreciate the effort that they put into this model house. And I know they probably had to, because it is televised after all, but they didn't have to eat like this. They didn't have to make it this glamorous, and they did. So for that, I appreciate Tyra Banks. I appreciate the producers. Throughout the day, Gina and Jade have been going back and forth because Jade is she's a very extroverted, very, very confident woman. And Gina, you know, she's like 5 years younger than Jade. She's a lot more soft-spoken and shy. So she didn't do too well in the conference challenge that they had earlier. And Jade is trying to give her advice about it. I don't know if it came from a good place or not, but the way she delivered it, it wasn't very nice. So Gina ends up crying crying, and I don't know how much of that is because of what Jade said to her and how much of it was frustration out of not doing too well in one of their first challenges. And now the girls are at dinner and it's still incredibly awkward. Gina is still very frustrated with what happened, so she's now chugging champagne at the dinner table. I don't know how much of this was Gina's choice and how much the producers had to do with it, but the way that they display this is just very, very dramatic. Also, reality TV show producers are very well known for force feeding contestants alcohol and not giving them much food to make for more drama, to make contestants a little bit more loose. So I don't know if that is what happened in this scenario, but just with what I'm seeing on the, on the television, I'm just choosing to take this scene with a grain of salt. Now, as much as I've ragged on Tyra Banks, she kills it as the host of this show. She does one of her famous Tyra Banks pop-ups and she has a little chat with the girls in the house. She has a goofy yet calm personality and it just works well in this sort of environment. It's very evident that it makes the girls feel at ease, as though she's more one of their friends. You can see the girls are comfortable around her, and I think that's a good thing. When you watch them, it's like watching a bunch of girls at brunch, a little bit tipsy, they're having fun, they're chit-chatting. It's just a fun, girly time. Later, the girls get some Tyra mail, which tells them that they're going to get makeovers, which happens every season, and Lord am I frightened for these women. The girls then arrive at the hair salon, and Jay drops a bomb. The girls are going bald. Jay really lets that sink in, and then he tells them, JK, we're just putting bald caps on you and you're gonna have a bald beauty photo shoot. As soon as the reveal is done, the girls get back in the cars and they go to a different studio, which is so funny because like they took them to that hair salon for 2 minutes just for that little jokey joke. That's so strange, but I appreciate the commitment to the bit. Once they put the caps on, the girls look like sexy bald aliens. Or
A penis with ears.
according to Kathy. Danny absolutely knocks this challenge out of the park. She kills it. She looks phenomenal. Her poses are phenomenal. Danny, I love your work. Jay does this thing whenever he's talking to Danny and he's like, ooh, girl, you better show out. Ooh, girl, you better work. Stop. You're scaring the hoes. Because that's not how he really talks. And we know that. Jay, why are you speaking like that? It's funny to witness in real life, it's funny to see on TV. The way the girls get critiqued in these challenges, I do not like at all. They are under an immense amount of pressure, not only being watched by some of the judges, being watched by the other girls, but there's a camera taking pictures right in front of them, and there are also God knows how many cameramen or women around them filming. If you want the girls to put their head down, tell them, hey, put your head down. Don't tell them that, oh, the way your head is positioned, it makes your jaw look really big. Why would you say that? What did you gain? This is what photographers do when I'm like lifting my head a little bit too much when I'm shooting. They're like, chin down. And I put my chin down. It's really that easy. You really do not have to insult these young women. As soon as Jay says this kind of stuff, you can really see the confidence in their eyes dwindling. I don't know. I'm a sensitive person. I'm very sensitive. And I don't see why, if you know the girls are under immense pressure as is, and you want them to perform their best, why your go-to option is to insult them. I don't see what you could gain from that. I don't see what the girls could gain from that unless you really just want to insult a 21-year-old girl. So we now come to the first official judge elimination round. On the panel, we have Tyra, of course, we have Miss J, we have Nigel Barker, and Twiggy. While judging, Nigel makes this comment about Danny looking like a much prettier version of Grace Jones. What do you mean by that? Nigel Barker, what do you mean by that? Sorry, let me say it in a way you'll understand. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? And then Tyra drops an amazing comment. She's like, Danny, this is a beautiful picture, but the way you pose, you just need to be really careful for your nose because if you go too high, then you can see all up in it. If you look at Danny's photo, her chin is literally angled down. So why bring this up? Why bring this up? Danny just has big nostrils. Like the same as me, it is a very common trait among people of African descent. That comes with the territory. Sorry, unfortunately, you're gonna have to see a bit more nostril than you're used to. But at the end of the day, Danny produced insane, incredible photos. Like I said, if you want somebody to, focus on having poses where their chins are down, just say, hey, chin down, babes. Next insult that they throw out is that Ferranda's eyes are really far apart. No, they're not. Tyra also tells Leslie that she's wearing too much makeup. Meanwhile, her ass is sitting on the judging panel with a full face of makeup on, blush, glittery ass eyeshadow. But she's not allowed to wear. Okay, Tyra. Oh my god, there's more insults. Tyra also says Brooke that her jaw is really large, and she proceeds to make fun of her for it. Even after this, during the judge's deliberation, she keeps going on and on about Brooke's jaw. I'm like, is there something I'm not seeing? These judges are just throwing out insults for no damn reason. I have a little theory of my own, and I hope that this doesn't come across as ageist. It seems that these judges who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s seem to be getting a little too much out of saying harmful things to these younger girls who are 19, 20, 21. Why are you trying to knock down the confidence of these young women? You're a grown-ass adult. You have a mortgage and kids. What do you gain out of it? Anyways, it's giving loser. I don't care for a lot of what these people have to say. I don't care how much experience they have. Being nice is important. Sorry, I know they're judges, but like, it just hurts me. I don't know. I feel like people need to pay attention and need to care for the way that they talk to young women. And I think this is not talked enough about. And eventually I will make a video about this, about how young women, especially teenage girls, are not taken seriously. Everything that they love, makeup, boy bands, shopping, is made fun of. Oh, she's just a teenage girl. Oh, you like shopping? That's so brain dead of you. Oh, you like Harry Styles? That's so brain dead of you. Meanwhile, grown men are screaming their heads off in the football field, in the arena, every damn weekend. America, explain. Anyways, sorry about that tangent. Here are my favorite photos from the challenge. I really like Danny's photo, Gina's photo, and Nena's photo. Gina's face is, I've never seen a face like this in my life. She is phenomenal looking. Like, this is a face that men go to war for. Like, all these girls are gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous in their own right, but I've never seen anybody that looks like Gina. She's stunning. In this episode, unfortunately, Kathy goes home. Bye-bye, Kathy. Episode 3. This episode begins with the girls, Tyra and Miss J, in a hair salon to finally, and actually this time, get their makeovers. Oof, the dreaded episode of the season. These makeovers are traumatic. The girls are scared. I'm scared. And Tyra is describing what she has in mind for each of the girls. And in my opinion, I'm seeing a little bit too much joy in her eyes while she's explaining this. I don't like it. I don't. Here is the part of this cycle that is the bane of my existence. Tyra chooses to cut off Jade's long, beautiful, dark afro. Not just that, but she bleaches it to this insane blondish whatever color, which is damn near the same shade as Jade's skin. Tyra Felicia Banks, I don't know her middle name. Why did you do that? I have my suspicions. Being from the same culture where you know how much importance hair holds to somebody, choosing to take that all off, not just the hair, but to take the color out of her hair, that pisses me off. Anyways, Jay's face card goes absolutely crazy. She also has one of those faces that men go to war for, and she kills it in the photo shoot. In fact, all the girls do incredibly well. One thing they also choose to do is to shave Nena's hair clean off. Even if they weren't gonna completely shave it off, I think she would have looked really good with a fade, because once again, face that you'd go to war for. Anyways, thankfully the girls still look phenomenal. They look incredible. So now Jay is asking the girls what sort of tagline they'd want to go along with their, their new look, their new personal style. Some of the girls are like all American, others are like sophisticated chic. And because Danny, she has this long weave on now, she's like sexy chic. And then Jay recommends hip hop glam. I'm sorry, where did hip hop come from? She said sexy chic. You said hip hop glam. He said, you're urban. Danny, you're urban. There's no getting away from it. It's so interesting. So very interesting. Anyways, let's move on. So I do not like this haircut or hair color for Jade at all. I think it took away her edginess a little bit, and it makes her look a lot older than she is. We are back the next day. I'm wearing the exact same clothes. Let's not talk about it. I don't like Jade's haircut. Jade doesn't like Jade's haircut, but Jade is making that everybody else's problem, she's being she's being quite mean to the girls. So the girls then head to a fashion show where they have to pick out certain outfits themselves, and these are outfits that the girls feel represent their new personal style with their new haircuts. So they also have to do their own makeup, and they're gonna be judged by a celebrity hairstylist. The winner gets a $5,000 shopping spree, and she gets to take a girl of her choosing along with her, and Nana wins her second fucking round. Can we get a round of applause for my Nigerian sister? Please. Can I get a thank you? Actually, no, my bad. She gets to take 2 people with her. So Nana takes both Jade and Gina. Face cards. I feel like if I saw these 3 incredibly pretty girls at once, I would have no choice but to combust. Like, the face cards just go absolutely bonkers. They go bonk. I can't. These women are walking art pieces, and it's not something that I can't mention. I'm so sorry. I'm so moved by art. I am moved by these women's faces. This episode also delivers some of my favorite dialogue from the show.
This is a competition. This is not America's Next Top Best Friend.
The next day, the girls get Tyra mail that says, "Don't blow your cover." What does it mean? So then the girls are sent to this massive ice freezer where they have to pose among these like intricate, really cool looking ice sculptures. They get there and they're wearing really, really fluffy coats, but they essentially have to like strip down to essentially underwear to pose with these ice sculptures. The makeup is fucking fire. I need to look up the makeup artist that was responsible for this shoot because I haven't seen anything like it. Jay, at this point, is high-key giving mean girl.
I think Sarah doesn't realize that when you leave your mouth hanging open for the whole photo shoot, it's not really attractive.
I just don't understand this, man. You are grown. These are 20-something-year-old girls. Like, show a little compassion, please. Like, why are you being mean to them? Just because you are a judge doesn't mean you have to be cruel. So during the shoot, it's very clear that Jade is still not taking her hair well. And it really, really sucks because this girl clearly has some talent. She clearly has the face, she has the height, she has everything she needs. But this haircut really just seemed to break her down, which I understand. So later, the girls head to another elimination where obviously one girl of the 13 at this point will be eliminated. So Danny's the first to go up on this elimination, and for some reason Nigel is mad at the fact that she has her bangs to the side. He gets really weird. Like, if that happens to me in real life, I know my heart would be jumping.
What you need to do though, if you come to judging with your hair like this again, don't wear it on one side.
Once again, I feel like there was a nicer way that he could have said that. It's just hair, my Jade. Speaking of, Nigel says to Brooke when it's her turn, "While you're not classically pretty, what you are is wrong, but that wrong is so right." This just said a whole lot of nothing. What does that mean, Nigel? What do you gain as a grown man? Anyways, my favorite picks from this challenge are Carrie's and Leslie's. Nigel, of course, continues to throw shots at the girls for things they can't control.
Joni might be pretty with her mouth shut, but as soon as she opens her mouth, I'm sorry, but that tooth, that's a problem. Faronda's Gonda for me, because quite frankly, this is like E.T. with a wig on.
Unfortunately, Wendy does not make it through this elimination round, and she seems very, very cut up about it. However, I'm just glad that she finally gets to see her family again, and this show can finally stop exploiting her trauma. So we are up to episode 4, and the girls go to an undisclosed location where Miss J is walking very fiercely down the runway. After Miss J goes, it's now the girls' turn. Danny's walk is absolutely insane. It is phenomenal. I love her walk. She absolutely kills this. The girls then put on some dresses and heels and do an official runway walk, and unfortunately some of the girls trip during this, and I will say this is one of the things that actually happens in the show that is a very common part of the industry. You will be put in uncomfortable dresses, uncomfortable heels, and you may end up tripping. I think though this is not a bad thing. Tripping is not a bad thing. Everybody has accidents, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. But yeah, I've actually tripped on the runway. It was like a Victoria's Secret-esque type runway. I lost my shoe. It came loose right in the middle of the runway with thousands of people watching me. Thousands, maybe hundreds. I had one foot in my heel, and then I put one foot on the tippy toes and just kept clopping along. Tripping happens to everybody. It even happened to the greatest, the GOAT, Naomi Campbell. You really just gotta get up with confidence and keep going. That's the only thing you can do. And TBH, no one's ever mad at you. They always just ask if you're okay. The girls are back at the mansion. They get some Tyra mail, which reads, "Grumfodorina portentosa." I wonder what that could mean. So the girls arrive at this hall where they meet Miss J. Miss J introduces them to a fashion designer who tells them that they will be walking in a spring collection later that night, and they will be judged for their walks by him and some of his fashion advisory, his little fashion advisory group. And then all of a sudden, roaches.
What the hell?
In this show, each of the girls have to wear these bedazzled cockroaches on a leash that's gonna be attached to them. The rationale behind this is that designers choose crazy things to do all the time so that they can get their fashion shows in the press. My question is, of all the things y'all could have done, y'all chose these big ass fucking cockroaches? Tyra Banks, you are not seeing the pearly gates. Now the fashion show starts and the girls do really well, all things considered. However, for Gina, it is very clear that she has some sort of bug or cockroach phobia. She's not doing very well. Conversely, Jade is having a grand old time. She's holding this cockroach, looking at it lovingly, and at the end of the runway, she gives it a big old smooch. You did that for what? But honestly, I understand for these challenges, you really have to go above and beyond if you want to stand out. So you know what? That's a girl boss right there. I can't knock her game. And Gina's up next after Jade, and the guy who's like, you know, commandeering the fashion show, he's trying to get her to get the fuck on the runway, and she's like crying and hyperventilating. It's really not a fun time for this girl. Anyway, she ends up going on the runway. Her walk eats. She still does really well. Unfortunately, due to her nerves, she does end up slipping. Because you know what the thing is, in the modeling industry, if there's going to be cockroaches on your runway, I'd be like, okay, at least I have like a few days, a few weeks to prep my brain for this. At least I'm going to the fitting and hopefully I'm going to see the little critters and I can get used to it and I can mentally prepare myself. Gina wasn't given any of that, so I do have a lot of grace for her. Unsurprisingly, Jade does win this challenge, and honestly, I'm really proud of her. She finally got her shit together, because up until this point, Jade's been like, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, I can do this. All the girls are so intimidated by me, but she's had nothing to show for it up until this point. It was very obvious that she had this potential, but she wasn't pushing herself. So she picks a few friends, and they get to go to the actual fashion show later that day on a VIP package. The girls get to see the professional models walk this runway, and guess what? There's no fucking roaches. No roaches. You can tell that this is such a learning experience for these girls, and I wish that they did more of this in the show. Actual fashion shit instead of bad haircuts and large bugs. The girls are back home, and Danny is giving some really good advice. This is a consistent theme throughout this cycle. Danny is always the one that the girls go to when they need advice. She's never in trouble. She never gets in drama with the girls, except for earlier when evil Danny was provoking her. So the day after, the girls are doing their next challenge, and they have to sort of stand on this box while dressed as pretty little fairy tale characters, and they have to drop from the box. So Jade is first up, and she sports this really pretty Little Red Riding Hood getup, and she does really, really well. She also looks incredible as per usual. And then when it's Sarah's turn, Jay comes in with his annoying comments. He tells her that she looks like a blow-up doll. I think it's because her mouth was open. Just tell her to close her mouth. You don't have to make everything weird. Like, that's not. Molly Sue's the little boy in blue, and I think she absolutely kills it. I feel like she's giving so many different dynamic poses. And obviously, Jay comes and he hates her posing because Jay hates everything. This makes Molly Sue really upset. She starts crying. She tells the cameras that she's trying really, really hard, and Jay's telling her that she's not trying at all, which is clearly making her very frustrated. Anyways, Leslie kills it. Danny eats as Snow White, or sorry, Snow Black. So the next day, the girls are at yet another judging panel, and they have to wear these fuck off large shoes, and they have to do all of it without tripping. Now, my question is this not an OH&S violation? Thankfully, not all the girls trip. Some of them do really, really well, but Danny does trip, and she trips so bad that they have to call an ambulance. And then later, Danny comes in and she's wearing crutches, and the judges are having a little old cackle about it. I don't like that. It's now time for the girls' pictures to be judged, and Jade looks incredible. Nena kills it. Danny does incredible. When I was watching this, I had like a That's So Raven type flashback way back into my childhood when I was watching this show for the first time. This picture is quite literally cemented in my brain. Unfortunately though, Carrie does go home this episode, which she was really, really surprised by, and so was Gina. On to the 5th episode, where there are 10 girls remaining. So the girls arrive at this beautiful hall that is filled with artists and some mannequins, and Janice is in the middle of the room doing some foolishness. We realize that she's actually teaching the girls how to pose, and in this episode she will be teaching the girls the distinction between commercial posing and editorial posing. Commercial being more like the smiley girl next door, while editorial is more like girl with the dragon tattoo. Gina looks so good here. I love her. Them cheekbones. Oh my god. Janice is being a see you next Tuesday as per usual. She makes Gina stand up in front of all of the girls, get up on one foot, jump up and down, and laugh maniacally while looking Janice in the eye. That's an insane thing to do. That reminds me of that one scene. If y'all have seen Griselda on Netflix, it came out in the past month or so. And if you don't know, Griselda is based on this insane drug lord from Colombia way back in the day. She had a net worth of like $2 billion. But there's this one scene where she's so mad, she makes one of her guests strip down butt-ass naked, get on the floor on all fours, and bark like a dog while holding him at gunpoint. This is what that scene evoked for me. I felt nearly the same emotions. It was such a bizarre thing to do. Thankfully it's over soon enough and the girls head to dinner, but my smile does not last long because Janice shows up. At this point it's very evident that Janice chose the shyest girl of the bunch, being Gina, and she just started to pick on her, noticed that it bothered her, and just continued to pick on her. She forces Gina to out who has been bothering her in front of the entire table. Gina she doesn't want to at first, but Janice just keeps pressuring her to do this. So she eventually does it, and straight after, Jade pipes up and she's like, "Oh, Gina, what did I do now?"
What did I do now, Gina? Seriously. What did I do now? I was thinking in my head like, what?
Even though Janice forced her to mention Jade's name, Janice immediately takes Jade's side.
First of all, you get your ass off and go over there.
What did I do now, Gina?
You can go away. Gina, no matter what, rule number one, we never rat out our bitches. Rule number one.
The thing is, I never...
Zip it!
The thing is, though,
There's no thing! Zip it, bitch! Zip it! You're dead in my book.
Janice starts yelling at Gina as though she wasn't the one who started this whole thing. She's a horrendous person. I really don't understand why she stayed on the show for as long as she did. Now the girls are back at the mansion and Gina is so upset, she's crying, and Nana's giving her some really good advice. Later, Gina gets out of the shower and she goes to her room just to see Jade sitting on her bed with Nana, and Jade is talking shit about her, which is so annoying because Jade now feels incredibly free to do this now she's gotten the cosign from the Wicked Witch of the West. Gina finally stands up for herself and she leaves Jade looking like a babbling fool, which honestly is what she deserves.
You say you feel sorry for me?
I feel very sorry for you.
I feel very sorry for you. You don't understand anything. You can say whatever the hell you want, Jade.
So the girls' first challenge for this episode is to do some commercial posing like they learned about earlier, and they need to do a different outfit and a different makeup look for each of the 4 main seasons: summer, autumn, winter, and spring. Sarah does really well in this challenge. She has this really great smiley girl next door commercial look, but then she also has the really long legs for catwalk. I love that for her. Nana also does really well though, and she wins her 3rd bloody challenge. Back home, Nana's talking to her clingy ass man.
We'll have any deep conversations when I get home. And I'm serious.
So the next day, the girls go to Tyra's dressing room on the Tyra Banks show, and she talks to them about, what are their goals and aspirations for after they finish modeling. The girls then go to another set where they sort of have to act out their future professions that they were talking to Tyra about earlier, and they have to do it in a sort of editorial manner. So they've done the commercial shoot earlier, and it's now time for them to do the editorial. So Jay brings out some shirtless male models to aid the girls in this photo shoot. So with this shoot, it's very evident that the girls are becoming way more confident in front of the camera, until it comes to Gina though, because the girl is quite uncomfortable and she seems very nervous. I feel really bad for her. Brooke is a little uncomfortable as well, although Nana, on the other hand, she absolutely eats this challenge up. She is so comfortable in front of this camera, and she's one of the girls who's posing with this male model. She gets a little bit too comfortable and like low-key makes out with the model. Mind you, she has a whole man at home. So the girls are back at home and Nana's on the phone with her boyfriend, and immediately he's suspicious. The first thing he asks her is, "Did you kiss a boy?" She straight up denies it. She's like, "No." He sees right through her though, and he keeps asking her, and eventually she does fess up. Nana clearly doesn't like this man. I don't know why she didn't break up with him before she came on the show, but Not my relationship, not my problem. It is now time for the judging panel, and at this point I noticed that the judges are being a lot nicer to the girls than they used to, which is really nice to see. My favorite pictures from this challenge were Joni, Danny's, and Jade's. Gina is at the bottom two once again, and unfortunately she doesn't survive this elimination, and this is my saddest elimination so far. I think she is so beautiful, and I think the world deserved to see her on magazines and on storefronts and whatnot. I just think she needed a little bit more confidence, a little bit more self-assurance, and I can't help but think if it hadn't been for Jade, would she have performed better? Would she have been more confident? We will never know. It is now episode 6 and we have 9 girls remaining. To begin, there is some drama on the phone with Nana and her boyfriend. I could not care less at this point. Tyra then shows up at the mansion, and just by this clip, I already know what's about to happen. Tyra faints. Just kidding. She was just acting. The girls are gonna be learning about acting this episode.
Acting, that was fake!
That was kind of extra, but like I say, Tyra Banks is a stunt queen. The girls then go to this improv theater where a teacher teaches them all about the world of improv. They go on the stage, they do a little bit of their own thing. Then they're moved to the Wild and Out stage, you know, that television show, I think it's on MTV, and it stars Nick Cannon. The girls have to do some improv in this show, and whoever wins gets to be in an episode of Veronica Mars. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, whoa, this is like probably the coolest prize they've done so far. Now Jade kind of fucks this up a little bit. She's not very good at following instructions, and she just keeps on making mistakes. And it's very clear that when she doesn't get something, she gets mad, and it's just like a sort of cascading effects, and she just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Anywho, the girls start freestyling, which is something they often do on the show Wild and Out. The thing is though that Jade starts taking shots at the other girls. No one did this before her. This shit just rubs me the wrong way. Jade is the oldest of the crew at this point, being 26. You would think she'd be the most mature, but she's clearly not. Like, I'm the same age as her. I'm 26 at the moment, and I just could not imagine acting like this. Anywho, Ferranda is picked as the winner of this challenge, and I'm so happy for her because she's kind of been on the back burner this whole cycle, but it's so clear that she has so much potential, and I'm just glad that it's finally starting to show. On the way back from the mansion, some of the girls are talking about how mean Jada is, and one of the girls says she sure doesn't act like she's almost 30. That almost hurt me a little bit because I'm the same age as Jade was. I have 4 years left. I did not expect to be catching strays on this here episode, okay? I'm still a little bit cut up about it. Aging is a blessing. Aging is a blessing. So obviously, Ferranda wins a challenge, and she chooses Nana to go with her to share the prize. The girls meet with this HIV spokesperson who actually has HIV herself. It's not only educating the girls about HIV and like being very cautious with your sexual health, but they're also educating the audience, which I think is amazing. I think that's so important, and I'm very shocked that a reality show that puts a blind eye to a lot of the health issues that they put these girls through can also, on the other hand, spread awareness about diseases that have a very controversial reputation among society, especially among young people. So the girls do a PSA on HIV, which is going to be both online and on TV. I also like that they're focusing on the humanitarian aspects of modeling and not just the glitz and the glamour.
Excuse me, so your intern from Neptune High School's here.
When we get to see the episode of Veronica Mars that Ferranda is in, I'm kind of taken aback a little bit. She does so well. And just by viewing this clip, especially from a girl who has no acting experience, I totally thought that maybe she would pursue a career in acting. Later, we see the girls at this beautiful, beautiful mansion where they have to do this sort of cover girl improv advert. And I think this is such a cool challenge. This is one of the other challenges where I think, okay, I can actually see them using the experience that they now have and applying it in the modeling industry once they get out of the show. I'd love to do a shoot like this one day. I think this is really cool. Ferranda and Nana absolutely knocked this challenge out of the park. However, for Brooke and Mary Sue, they don't do so well. It's very obvious that they're getting a little bit stressed, a little bit nervous, and Jade just completely bombs. So we are now back at the judging panel and the girls' CoverGirl commercials are about to be reviewed. Nigel drops this absolute banger of a statement that has absolutely no relevance to what is being discussed.
I love her personality.
But she's got no bust, and she's super skinny.
Thankfully though, Miss J backs her up. So in this episode, Molly Sue and Jade are in the bottom two, and unfortunately for Molly Sue, she does not survive this round and she goes home, with Tyra telling Jade that she needs to learn how to listen and take instruction because she especially struggled with that in this episode. It's a real shame that Molly Sue left because she had one of my favorite looks in this cycle. With 8 girls remaining, the girls are at an undisclosed location where Miss J is teaching them how to handle accessories and outerwear on the runway. The girls then move to meet the Swirl twins, I think they're called, who teach them how to, you know, swirl and just really show some cool body movement while they're on the runway. So the girls then head back home and everyone's kind of upset with Nenna because she has been hogging the phone. I really don't understand why the producers don't just give them an allocated time to use the phones. I don't know why the producers only put one phone in the house. Actually, I do know why. Obviously, it's to create some tension, to create some drama, but I don't like it. This could have been avoided. Brooke then starts having some one-sided beef with Nenna, and she drops some fun, microaggressive statements.
What makes her so much better than me? She's from Africa?
You've been on it for a good. I'm like,
Go back to Africa if it's so damn great.
Now, what Nenna did was wrong. Obviously, she should not be hogging the phone, but what the hell does being from Africa have to do with it, babe? The girls are then taken to a church where they will be taking place in a church fashion show as one of their challenges. And in this episode, I learned that Black people at a certain time, they were not allowed at fashion shows. So they would put on their own at churches. It's fucked up, but I think that's quite a fun part of history. Like, okay, you're not gonna invite us, you're not gonna let us in, okay, we'll make our own and we're gonna make it more fun and exciting. So they tell us that the winner of this challenge is going to get a $25,000 diamond ring. I don't know how real this is. I really would like to know whether the girls got to keep the diamond rings, because that's kind of crazy. The girls do really well at this challenge, and I'm pleasantly surprised by Leslie because her walk in this episode has just drastically improved from when she first came on the show. She has so much personality on the runway. It's really fun to watch. Nenna kills this shit, okay? Look at her go. Joni at this point is a little bit delulu because she thinks that the competition is down to her and Jade. Have you seen Danny? Have you seen Nenna? Have you seen Leslie? Girl, be fucking for real. At least that's what I said until I saw this girl walk. Cause she can walk, Joni can walk. I take back everything I said, I'm sorry. I take back everything I said, I'm sorry. So after they do these beautiful twirly walks on the catwalk, Joni absolutely thinks she's won. You can see it in her face, you can see it in the way she talks. But unfortunately, Jade does take the prize. She gets a $25,000 ring. Not just that, she gets to pick 2 girls to share the prize with. So Jade gets a $25,000 ring. One of the girls she picks gets a $10,000 ring. Another girl she picks gets an $8,000 ring. Damn, what was the budget for this show? Tyra, how much money you got? Brooke continues to be a hater, and she's talking about how she really doesn't see Nenna or Jade winning the show, even though they've won a lot of challenges. Okay, girl. It seems like at this point, the spirit of evil Danny has found its way to Brooke, and I'm not having a good time watching it. So this episode is another episode that has been stuck in my head since I was a kid because they're going to be doing the crumping photo shoots. This shit has been stuck in my psyche for years and years. This is where I learned what crumping was. I don't know what it is about this challenge. It's just so fun. Plus the breakdancing clowns in the background. Ugh, amazing. Just an iconic shoot. Some of the girls do really, really well in this challenge. Others are kind of awkward, as is to be expected with something like a dancing challenge. Jay tells Leslie, the 18-year-old, that he expected her to be more of a sex kitten. Why? These statements he's making are so insane, but like I don't know how much I can expect from a grown man with platinum blonde hair. It is now time for the judging panel, and my favorite pictures are Jade, Joni's, and Nenna's. Unfortunately, in this episode, Leslie does go home, which I was really surprised by because I really liked her photo this week. So in episode 8, 7 girls remain, and it seems like Nenna and her boyfriend's little thing that has been going on is really starting to affect her. her. Anyways, the girls meet this creative director and they hand him their portfolio to see if they can be booked for a commercial. They also meet with this lady Dupree's who sort of talks to them one-on-one, and she's really mean. She tells Nana that her stomach is too big, which is insane because look at her. She also calls her the T word to her face in a derogatory manner. It turns out it was all an act. That's not really how Dupree's is. She was just saying harmful things to these girls to see if they could really handle the harsh realities, the harsh feedbacks, the harsh no's that they're going to potentially face in the modeling industry. This is where Jade's confidence really comes in a clutch, because while this woman was insulting her to her face, she was smiling through the whole thing, always managing to find the positives. Once it's revealed that it was all an act, Jade wins the challenge and she takes Nana to share the prize with her. So the girls go back to the mansion and they see their prizes waiting for them at their home, and it is their loved ones. Jade's mom comes out of this huge gift box, and for drama's sake, they bring Nana's boyfriend, which surely there was someone else. I know her family's back in Nigeria at this point, but like, y'all couldn't have chosen like a close friend or something. Y'all chose her man. Nana looks so incredibly uncomfortable. Anyways, it is now time to go to this episode's photo shoot. For this episode, the girls are gonna be living dolls. I swear this episode is just one giant Pantene ad. If I hear Pantene one more time, I may combust. I may. Brooke kind of struggles during this photo shoot, but Danny and Jade do really well. And then the girls are sent to a dentist to give them smile makeovers. Now, most of the girls are just getting their teeth cleaned as per usual, but Danny and Joni are the big projects because Joni has a little bit of crowding on the right side of her teeth, I think, and it results in like one of her teeth like being really high on her gum. And Danny has quite a prominent gap. I think it's called a diastema. In order to fix Joni's teeth, the dentist plucks out 4 of Joni's front teeth. 4. For what? Not only that, but he shaves down 12 of her teeth. So she gets veneers put on her teeth. This girl is so young, she's 21. I do not understand this decision to pluck out teeth they looked perfectly healthy to me. This is such a permanent health decision, and I really wonder how much she actually contributed to that decision, and I wonder if she was pressured at all. Not just that, veneers aren't just like a one time and you're done for the rest of your life. Those are something that you have to constantly get replaced, and she's gonna have to because 4 of her teeth are now gone out of her mouth. She has no option. This is a really harrowing process for Joni. I believe for the first day she was in the dentist's office for over 12 hours. She does not leave the dentist's office up until 5 o'clock in the morning. The next day they have to do a shoot and Joni's teeth are not ready yet. In this shoot, Janice shows up once again to give the girls a pep talk. This woman is so strange. She's so strange.
Big zero no-no is alcohol.
For this week's challenge, the girls have to do a crying photo shoot, which is going to be directed by good old Tyra Banks. I'm gonna be real with you guys, at this point, I'm getting so bored of this show. I'm so tired of it. I don't know what I... This is me being a hater. I don't know what I saw in it as a child that made it so grossly entertaining to me. Thankfully, this is a crying shoot, and obviously you don't need to show your teeth for a crying shoot. So Joni is perfectly fine. She actually comes out with an incredible photo. And now it's time for yet another judging panel. Woo! The judges are going to be reviewing the 2 shoots they did this week, the doll one and the crying one. So we don't really see it at this point, but Danny was at the dentist with Joni and she was supposed to get her gap closed. When it's Danny's turn to come up to the judging panel, they give her absolute shit for not wanting to get her gap closed. It is very evident that this girl is incredibly confident in herself. She's come to terms with this gap that she has, and now they're telling her to remove it.
Do you really think you can have a cover girl contract with a gap in your mouth?
Yeah, why not? This is all people see. It's easy reach beautiful cover girl.
Well, I guess she just left the gap wide open for another girl, baby.
She doesn't have to go through cosmetic procedures if she doesn't want to. That is an insane thing for them to essentially demand from her. And we find out that this was a really dodgy situation, and the producers were kind of maniacal and manipulative behind the scenes. So the way that it's presented in the TV show is not really how it happened. We will talk about this later. Anyways, all these judges have a reserved spot in hell, and I will make sure that they end up there. I'm kidding. At this point, I am hoping that Brooke goes home this episode because I feel like she has been given so many chances to turn out amazing photos, to do well in these challenges. She hasn't really pulled through, and I feel like girls who were doing better than her have long gone. At this point, I'm so sorry. I'm just hoping that Brooke leaves. Oh, is that controversial to say? I'm sorry. My favorite pictures of the doll shoot were Danny and Jade, and for the crying shoot, I really like Nana, Jade, and Joni. Jade and Brooke are the final two, and my wish came true. Brooke goes home. And then there were 6. So at the beginning of this episode, the girls meet with a PR person who's teaching them about media training. Then they meet with a columnist from Vanity Fair who interviews them and gives them a score dependent on how they did during the interview.
What's with the head wrap?
It's just the Jade style.
You look like an arrogant bitch to me.
I'm sorry?
Do you think you're Nina Simone?
I don't understand what it is with a lot of the coaches on this show. It seems as if one of their main goals is to break down these girls, to break down their confidence. Anywho, my good sis Nana wins her 4th challenge and she takes Jade with her and they get to have an all expense paid spa treatment. Now, at this point, Danny is really stressed out about the pressure she's feeling to close her gap. She's on the phone with her mom and she tells her that she really is uncomfortable with this. She's spent so much time and effort gaining confidence in this gap just to have Tyra Banks tell her to remove it. Eventually, though, they do find a happy medium where they close the gap, but not quite completely. And thankfully, there's no shaving down, there's no pulling of the teeth. So later that night, Tyra comes and tells the girls that they are going to Thailand. So the girls arrive at Thailand and the winners of that little all expense paid spa treatment, they go have their spa. But the thing is, the girls who didn't win their challenge, they're the masseuses. They're preparing their baths, they're massaging them. They're clearly not having a good time. For their first photo shoot in Thailand, the girls are going to be mermaids and they're going to be like hoist from the ceiling as though they'd just been caught in a net. So they're going to be floating up in the air with their little mermaid tails and it's just really cute. And they're at a floating market. So beneath them is a little canal and there's, you know, lots of women and men and they're just selling their stuff. And there's like so much fruit, vegetables, plants in the background. It's just a really beautiful concept for a shoot. At this point, I feel like all the girls are really strong in their abilities and I have no idea who's going home. It is now time for the judging panel and Joni absolutely knocked this challenge out of the park. She has a face that is suited for the big screen. Jade looks fucking fierce in this. One thing I noticed is that the judges tend to go on and on about how Jade looks a little bit older than she is and she tends to photograph a bit older. They blame it on her accessories, the clothes she wears. Have y'all considered that it's because of this fuck ass haircut that you gave her? Have y'all considered that? She looked youthful and vibrant with her big dark afro until y'all decided to shave that off. Nana's picture doesn't really stand out to me this week, nor did it the last week. I feel like that shit with her boyfriend is really getting to her at this point. It seems like she's just given up and she doesn't want to do this anymore. I feel really bad for her.
On the negatives, he thought you were a little snobby, not charming.
It's probably when you speak like that, you know, and you speak with attitude. I am an African queen and I know better.
Nana she's a confident girl, but she's much more understated. She's very much to herself. She's a little bit quieter. She cheated on her boyfriend. So what? Girls can't have hobbies? I'm kidding. They act as if she thinks she's like high and mighty and bigger than everybody else. I haven't seen that at all in the show, and you know damn well that if she'd ever said something like that or ever acted like that, that they would have put it in the show. This is something I go through as well. I'm quite a quiet person, especially around people I do not know. So for them to be taking her confidence as she thinks she's too good for everyone, ooh, have I heard that before? So I don't know. I just don't like it. It definitely struck a nerve with me. Maybe I'm reading too much into things, but listen, I like to gap. Danny looks phenomenal as per usual. Sarah's picture, I'm not a huge fan of. Ferranda's pic is glorious. It is now time for deliberation, and Nigel's misogyny never fails to hit.
Well, I think Sarah sort of has to get over this whole I'm intelligent thing.
Just say you hate smart women. Ban straight men from the modeling industry until we figure out what's going on. I'm I'm not even gonna get into, girl, I have stories. Oh my God. It seems like all this man does is complain. And I now find myself wondering, is this like a setup? Is this like a bad cop thing that they put on just for the show, similar to the likes of Simon Cowell on American Idol? Or is he really just a bitch? Kidding. Nigel also says that he's not convinced by Joni in person because she doesn't have that charisma that her photos show. You know, she's just a little bit more reserved. I don't see anything wrong with that. Thankfully, Twiggy does defend Joni. Ferranda and Nenna are at the bottom too this week, and bitch, I'm scared. So Nenna does not make it through this week, and I am very, very confused by this because the girl has been winning like everything up until this point. She's consistently come out with really good pictures. Yeah, the loss, like 2 of her photos have not been the most amazing, but altogether she's done a lot better than some of the girls that still remain in the competition at this point. When I look at Nenna, I'm reminded of Naomi Campbell, just elegant, graceful. And we all know about the long-standing feud between Tyra and Naomi Campbell, so maybe Tyra saw the same thing and was like, no, get her out of here. No, get her out of here. Now, you may notice that I skipped straight from episode 9 to episode 11, and that is because episode 10 is just behind the scenes, unseen footage from America's Next Top Model. It had no stakes, there were no challenges, no judging, so we're skipping right on ahead. So we're now at episode 11, and 5 girls remain. So the girls are taught some classic Thai dancing, which is really cool. Later, the girls start arguing. Jade is being self-unaware, as per usual. Unfortunately, at this point, Danny has some health complications and she is rushed to the hospital with cameras all up in her face, which I really didn't like. So the girls now have to do this classic Thai dance in front of a judging panel and a huge crowd of people. Joni does incredibly well. Ferranda was kind of probably not paying attention while the instructions were being given out. She still gets lots of laughs from the crowd. So Joni wins this challenge and she chooses Sarah to share the prize with her. This week, the girls win a cute little dinner date with the publishing director of Elle Thailand. That is really, really cool. I would make sure that I did not leave that dinner table until I got this woman's number, her Instagram, her Twitter. Like, baby, we are staying in contact whether you like it or not. Eventually, against the doctor's wishes, Danny does discharge from the hospital early. I'm really sad that she felt like she had to do this just to go back to the competition. I wish, you know, the producer that was with her at the hospital advised her against this because your health should always come first. Anyway, she does end up leaving and going back to the house. So the next day, the girls are set to do the shoot of the day. We see Danny in bed while the girls have to leave in like 5 minutes, and we find out that she's suffering from exhaustion, dehydration, and a little bit of food poisoning. So thankfully, Danny is able to muster up the strength to go on this shoot. The girls are driven to a jungle, a really green, lush looking area, and Jay comes in on an elephant and he tells them that they are going to be shooting in the middle of the jungle on elephants this episode. So I don't like this. Riding elephants, I think it's common knowledge now that it is unethical. If you're gonna go to Thailand, like, there are ethical elephant sanctuaries. You can bathe the elephants, you can take selfies with them, but please do not ride them. If you want to ride an animal, go ride a cheetah or something. At least it'll have a tasty snack for when you're done. And by snack, I mean you. So this episode is clearly sponsored by the shaving company, and they have these girls shaving their legs in the middle of the jungle, which is such a funny sight. Actually, I really hope that they brought a moisturizer for the girls because them itchy legs post shaving, it ain't no joke. So they begin shooting and the elephants are not responding well to the flashes at all. Don't know why they thought this would be a good idea. I'm amazed at Danny, once again, like always. She's really acing this shoot. She is such a natural when it comes to modeling. So it is now time for this episode's judging panel. Sarah looks incredible in her shot. Joni looks wonderful. Ferranda and Jade's pictures, I'm not a massive fan of. It is now Danny's turn and the judges are talking to her about how she was rushed to the hospital. Nigel calls her high maintenance. Whatever that means, okay, I guess, Nigel. Anyways, Danny looks incredible in her photo, as per usual. During deliberation, the judges go on and on about Danny's country accent and how it's hard to understand, which it is not. They've never shown that it's hard to understand Danny. I've never heard them say, what did you say? Her tooth issue is now fixed and now you want to focus on something else. Tyra calls her ghetto, which is a whole nother can of worms that I'm not going to get into in this video, but it's just absolutely rich coming from Tyra Banks. It's so crazy to me because both Tyra and Twiggy were the first of their kinds in the modeling industry. They both broke so many barriers. Like, before they got into the modeling industry, there were barely any women who looked like them. Just for them to succeed in the modeling industry and then try to make every single girl cookie cutter. Nobody's gonna want you with a gap in your teeth, Danny. Nobody's gonna want you with this country, the southern accent. I just don't understand it. Twiggy, you're British. Why are you in this conversation? Both Nigel and Twiggy are British. Why are y'all in this conversation? If anyone's gonna be hard to understand, it's y'all two. So step off my good sis's back. At this point in the episode, it was very obvious to me that either Jade or Ferranda were going home. Surprise, surprise, these two girls do end up in the bottom two, and Ferranda does not make it past this episode, and she goes home. In this episode, 4 girls remain. Danny, Jade, Joni, and Sarah. The girls go to a temple and they meet with a former model who teaches them some Thai customs and traditions. For today's episode, the girls will be doing this thing called go-sees, which is essentially a casting. They take their portfolios with them and they go from casting director to casting director. And these people will be judging the girls based on how well they do. All the girls are given maps and they have to complete all their go-sees by 4:30 p.m. that evening. They're not allowed to take cars. They're not allowed to take taxis. They have to take these sort of, it's like a taxi but without doors. They're very fun to ride on. They have to take these things called tuk-tuk to go from casting to casting. The go-sees are actually really fun to watch. It's interesting to see all the girls in action. I think this is really good preparation for things like fashion weeks, and it also hammers home the fact that you have to respect the traditions, the customs of every country you're in, because traveling can be a huge part of modeling, especially if you want to make it big. This was just a really cool, informative challenge for them. For me also, actually. Jade is such a hater, I can't even lie. She needs to chill for real. The girl can walk though. Unfortunately, none of the girls get back on time for the agreed 4:30 p.m. Jade is the last person to arrive, arriving more than an hour later, and she does not seem apologetic about it at all. So Danielle would have won this challenge. The casting directors / clients, they all sort of agreed that Danielle was the best person consistently that came through, so she would have won this challenge, but unfortunately, because nobody showed up on time, there's no winner for this. So anyways, the girls are now headed to Phuket, and later that day, Tyra comes to the girls' new house in Phuket and she tells them about the tsunami that ravaged the island not too long before this show aired, actually, back in the year of 2004. Later that day, the girls take a long-tail boat to this really beautiful beach that they will be taking some bikini photographs at, and it is for a spread in the Elle Girl magazine. For this shoot, Nigel was there to take their photos. Whoa, love him, right, guys?
It's good to be a judge.
Anyways, Sarah is kind of struggling throughout the shoot. You can tell she's a little bit uncomfortable, but thankfully she pulls through in the end. Danny is also struggling a little bit because she's clearly a very empathetic person and she's still thinking about the tsunami victims who were killed and hurt and lost their families right where she was shooting. So it was quite hard for her, but she too manages to focus and she pulls through in the end as well. So the girls are back in Bangkok and it's now time for another elimination. Now the girls are first judged on their go-sees, which they did earlier in this episode. Danny's beach pic is outstanding. She looks amazing as usual. Jade also looks really good. I really like Sarah's photo as well. Joni's picture, I'm not a huge fan of, but the judges like it, so my opinion doesn't matter. During the deliberation, Tyra once again complains about Danny's voice. Like, we get it. What's the point of you complaining at this point? Her southern accent wasn't even that strong. I'm genuinely so confused. So unfortunately, both Danny and Sarah are in the bottom 2 this week, and we realize that it's not because of any photos or the lack of gumption she put into her gumption. That's crazy. And it's not for, you know, the lack of Danny trying or whatever. It is solely because of her accent that she's in the bottom 2 this week, which is crazy to me. But anyways, Sarah does end up going home this week. Danny is safe. So we are now down to the finale of the cycle and only 3 girls remain. In this episode, the girls are given a script because they're shooting yet another commercial type thing. This time it is for CoverGirl, and the winner of this challenge will have their final ad actually shown on TV. This is great because it could be a really amazing Kickstarter to their career. career, as well as the things that they win at the end of the show, obviously. So here, Jade is struggling to memorize her lines, Danny is struggling with her accent, and Joni is struggling with feeling comfortable talking with her new teeth. So this is definitely a bit of a challenge for all three girls, which kind of evens the playing field just a little bit. In this challenge, I think Joni does incredible. Her voice sounds really, really lovely, very TV ready. Jade, on the other hand, is really struggling. She's doing a lot of improvisation, which she was specifically told not to do. It's clear she's really struggling with memorizing her lines. It is now Danielle's turn, and she's struggling a little bit at the beginning. She's memorized her lines, but it's just trying to configure her lines and trying to remember the accents. It's just a little bit much for her. Thankfully, though, she does get it in the end as well. And after they shoot the commercial, they then do some CoverGirl beauty shots afterwards. The girls then go to an early elimination in this episode where their CoverGirl commercials and photos will be critiqued. So Jade's commercial is a little awkward. I think her photo's okay. Joni kills it all. Danny's photo is really incredible, but her performance in the ad is a little bit stiff, which is understandable because she was actively trying to ward off her accent. During deliberation, once again, the judges continue to go on and on about Danny's accent. Like, we get it. Y'all just want somebody and something to make fun of. It is so evident. Jesus. It is now time to eliminate one girl. Joni is picked first, which leaves Jade and Danny in the final two. And the last, this is the end of the Next Top Model road for Jade. She does end up going home. She surprisingly took this elimination really well. Bye, Jade. Joni and Danny then head to a floating temple where they will be doing their final runway show. Danny does really, really well. Her walk is so effortlessly just amazing. Joni's walk is a little bit more fierce. She kills it as well, though. Honestly, watching this episode made me really, really happy because this is one of my favorite parts about modeling is doing runway shows, just the adrenaline rush that comes with it. Not only are you backstage with a bunch of these girls trying to quickly change into your outfits, but when you're ready, you look hot as hell, and just like walking down the runway like that, there's nothing quite like it. So we are now at the final elimination of the cycle, and I haven't mentioned this before. They do go through this every single episode, but I just didn't think it was necessary to bring it up every single time. However, the winner of this cycle is going to get a contract with Ford Models, which is a huge modeling agency both in the States and internationally. They're going to get an Elle magazine spread, and they're also going to get a $100,000 contract with CoverGirl Cosmetics. And the winner is Danny! My fave. I cannot complain. Now, my question is, why make a huge deal about Danny's gap and her accent just to choose her with both those things still intact? Tyra literally told Danny, do you really think that you could be a cover girl with a gap in your teeth? And she does this to make fun of her. Yet she wins. Yet y'all chose her. So what was the point of it all? What was the point of it all? So now that we have come to the end of cycle 6 of America's Next Top Model, we have our winner, Danny. We're going to talk about where the girls are now, and I'm just going to focus on the top 5 girls because I ain't got time to go into all 13. So first, we're going to be talking about our cycle 6 winner, Danny. And Danny to this day is still modeling with Ford Models, but she has also joined Elite Models as of late. She also owns a unisex hat company called Monroe. She's had it for a few years now, and it was named after and inspired by her late grandfather, who was a jazz musician. She even has Oprah, the billionaire Oprah, wearing her hats, which I think is so amazing. I mean, I am not a particularly big fan of Oprah, but that is an insane feat that she has somebody like that wearing her hats. She also seems to be really close friends with Molly Sue. As you can see, both of them still looking as fine as ever. It looks like they're still really close according to their Instagrams, and sometimes I also see Ferranda in their comments throwing out really cute emojis, so I really hope that they still keep in contact. This brings me to the tooth gap issue that was very apparent in this season. After going on America's Next Top Model, I think it was actually a couple years after, Danny told interviewers that there was a little bit of a stitch up, there was a little bit of a setup with her, because when she went to the dentist with Joni, when Joni was getting her teeth fixed, Danny was supposed to get her gap closed, and it was just kind of suggested to her. She was asked, would you like to get your gap closed? And she said no, and that's it. And then she goes to the judging panel, and Tyra's like, Danny, why do you still have your gap? I told the producers to tell you to get your gap closed. Danny was really confused. She thought she had an option. She looks over to the producers, but this was not aired because either this was an accident on the producer's part or they purposefully did not tell Danny Tyra's instructions to make for some drama to get her in trouble. And not too long ago, actually, I think it was prior to the pandemic, the footage of Tyra making fun of Danny's teeth randomly became widespread, and the internet eventually forced Tyra Banks to give Danny an apology. Anywho, this is a shoot she did not too long ago on the cover of Harper's Bazaar, and she looks incredible. Proud of my girl Danny. As for Joni, she actually did model for a couple years after Top Model, but she's now a carpenter and she does a bunch of furniture flips on her Instagram where she has quite a number of followers. She still looks beautiful as ever. I believe she's married and with a family now, which is adorable, so we love that for Joni. Now, Jade no doubt faced a lot of criticism after this show. In fact, E! News called her one of the biggest bitches that Top Model has ever seen. Jade has come out and said that she felt misrepresented in the show. She felt like she was exploited by producers and she just got a horrible edit, essentially. So that is understandable. We know that reality TV tends to be fake. It's a lot more interesting for the viewer when they attribute personalities to certain people and make them out to be more characters as opposed to people. I don't know the extent to which they did do this for Jade, but unfortunately we'll never really know because she does not really talk about Top Model a lot. There's really not that much out there about her. I did find her Instagram, but she's private. Thankfully though, after America's Next Top Model, she signed to a bunch of agencies all around the world. She was in Hong Kong, she was in Singapore, she was in Canada. The girl was doing good, and I'm so happy because a face like this does not come around too often, and I'm glad that this face got to see the world. Now to Sarah. There's even less out about Sarah. There's barely any pictures of her post America's Next Top Model. She did model for a little bit after Top Model, but she's now a prosecutor for the US Department of Justice, which is what I think she said she wanted to be back during the episode where they had to do an editorial shoot relating to their future careers. So I'm really proud of her that she actually did become a lawyer. How cool is that? So Ferranda, arguably one of the most talented, smartest girls during this season, is also a lawyer too. She's a lawyer now. She has her own law office. She's doing incredible, obviously, and she too wanted to be a lawyer, and she said this during their editorial shoot, and she dressed up as a lawyer. Now overall, although Tyra created the show, she is clearly not the only one to blame here. However, at the end of the day, Tyra Banks, she's the creator of the show. She's the host of the show. She's the face of the show. If she wanted to foster a positive work environment, she could have. Now that being said, not all the girls had a negative experience on the show. A lot of the girls enjoyed it. They wouldn't change anything. We have had uprisings about this show in glimpses, but I need a whole expose. They got away with way too much, and I'm waiting for the day that it comes back to bite them in the ass. I know the girls had to sign mad NDAs. One of the girls that came out of the show said that if she broke the contract, she would have to pay $5.4 million, which is insane, but I really hope that they can find ways around this because obviously there are some chatter among the girls that have been on this show. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was interesting. I hope it was informative. If you did like it, please just give us the like down below. It really helps me out. I hate it when YouTubers say that, but it really does. So chuck us a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and my social medias will be at the end of the video and below in the description, so go follow me on there. Thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.